Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion regarding Tropical Storm Barry for July the 12th, 2019. It's about 1:11 p.m. Central Time, so let's just round it up and call it 1:15 p.m. Central, 2:15 Eastern Time. And let's take a look at the wide satellite picture. I want to point out a couple things here in addition to what's happening with Barry over here. Notice this tropical wave flaring up a little bit as it is getting ready to move through the Windward Islands. So Barbados, which is right there, all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago, and the rest of the Windward Islands, the southern windwards here up to the central Lesser Antilles as a whole. You guys are going to see some shower and thunderstorm activity from time to time, possibly some heavy rain, and this tropical wave will move on through. And who knows, maybe it ends up in the eastern Pacific and tries to develop. Not really much in the way of any indication from it developing in the Atlantic Basin from the models. This is Invest Area 93L, and you know, if it was again a few weeks later, it would probably try to develop. It has a nice envelope of energy associated with it, but the air is fairly stable overall in this zone. Because of the time of year it is, the Saharan air layer and the dry mid-level layer that gets ejected off the coast of Africa with these tropical waves sometimes is just too overbearing, and it's too much for this to overcome for it to really ramp up very much. There's another tropical wave coming off of Africa here, and even more convective activity over the west coast of Africa. You also see, of course, Barry over here trying to strengthen in the Gulf of Mexico, still sheared, and you can see that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this tab and zoom in on the Gulf of Mexico shot. Still sheared. The low-level circulation, you can see the low-level clouds even in this infrared shot. What does sheared mean? Well, it means that the upper-level winds are pushing this way against this convective blob and not allowing the banding to wrap around that center and have that classic look. But that being said, you can see this bubbling up action in here. That is the thunderstorm activity, the convection vertically rising in the atmosphere, the heat being released, and the air being evacuated out in the upper levels like this along the southern semicircle. So it's got a lot going for it with the vigorous energy, but the northerly shear and the dry air that gets blown in, literally it's kind of like blowing, you know, you take your hot hair dryer against a steamed up window, you turn that sucker on, and it blows that dry air and warmed up air across your steamed up bathroom window, and it makes the steam, the water vapor that is collected on your mirror, eventually go away. It's kind of the same thing. You get that dry air kind of being not only pulled in by the storm, but also the way that the mid and upper level winds are, that air can get injected into the storm as well. It's complicated, but the bottom line for everybody involved is you have sort of half of a system, which is good, but that being said, it is really trying to get its act together, and the models are indicating that it will do so and become a hurricane right before landfall here, somewhere near maybe Vermilion Bay, points west, Morgan City, and points west towards Vermilion Bay. And we'll take a look at that in a moment. So I want to show you something real quick just to explain things. This is a satellite animation, and what it is showing is the brightness temperature of infrared colors. You know, basically the colder cloud tops in the atmosphere are these right here, and these are clouds. This is not a radar shot. Radar uses a beam of energy, radar detecting and ranging as it's called, to bounce off of water droplets in the atmosphere from a ground station at a certain elevation. And so you're looking at cloud cover here, clouds, but underneath those clouds you do have precipitation. Now we don't have radar that can see all the way out here where the bulk of the precip is, but the radar is different than the satellite image, so don't confuse this satellite image with a ground-based radar that shows you the actual raindrops and sometimes ice pellets or whatever, hail in the case of severe thunderstorms. This is a cloud photograph with the colors indicating, again, these darker colors right through here to the brighter colors. In the way this is set up, Levi Cowan at Tropical Tidbits over here, let me move this out of the way to give credit where it's due, he has assigned a color bar to represent the different layers of the atmosphere. Warmer is here, colder is at the bottom. So you're looking at some of these minus 80 Celsius right in here, minus 80 Celsius. In other words, very intense thunderstorm activity. And yes, if you had a radar, all the way sitting right down here along the coast of Louisiana that could see out here, you would see quite a lot of heavy rain from that radar. I hope I explained that pretty well. All right, real quick, looking at the model guidance from the GFS, the 12Z run today. I'm going to go over this very quickly since we do get to look at this on a 6-hour basis. So this would be valid this evening, Friday evening, or 0Z Saturday. That's Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, roughly, 7 Central. There is the signature of Barry, and you can see it down there in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, if we move ahead another, 6 hours? This is 18 hours out, so 2 o'clock in the morning Saturday, and then finally, and that's Eastern Time, 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday. And then look what happens here. Let's just go back a little bit. Look at this area between 6 and 18 hours there. Did I get it right? No, I'm sorry. That's 12 hours to 18 hours. Sorry, I'm tired. A little bit of a jog back to the west a little bit. I don't know if that's going to, if that is starting to suggest a longer period of time over water or what, but it is noticeable. If we look at the 12-hour time frame, that would be valid this evening, and then 18 hours out at 2 o'clock in the morning coming up, there's a pretty noticeable jog to the southwest, and then it starts to resume that northwest motion very close to the Vermilion Bay area and to the west of Morgan City. That means that Morgan City could see an impressive band come on shore, something to watch for, and we can see that on radar when the time comes. So again, this is Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, finally Saturday evening, and then Sunday morning. The center, fairly well defined now in the model, onshore, creating extremely heavy rainfall over central Louisiana, south central Louisiana. The onshore flow, depending on how any bands set up, will bring squally conditions possibly as far east as New Orleans, Houma, down to Baton Rouge, of course, and over to the coast itself. A very dangerous situation setting up. People that think that this has been overdone and it's just not going to amount to anything, overnight tonight and through tomorrow, you're going to see. It looks like it's trying to get its act together. It's a very slow-moving system, and the rainfall that this will dump is going to be incredible. I cannot emphasize that enough. And to help with that point, I want to show you, again, the radar real quick. Nice and, I don't want to say dry, but compared to what's coming, not much happening along the Gulf Coast just yet. Now, the river forecast system here from the government is very, very helpful to you and me. In fact, let me just go back up here and type this in. If you go to weather.gov and you look at the top as it loads, right there, rivers, lakes, rainfall. If you click on that, you go to here. And you can zoom in, you can select Louisiana, United States, etc. I have selected Louisiana, so you go to rivers, lakes, rainfall right there, and then you can select Louisiana as an example. And then you can mouse over, then you can mouse over these areas as an example. These, the purple is major flood stage, the Mississippi River in Baton Rouge. and it tells you some information about it in the chart over there. Let's move this out of the way. But what I want to show you is, for example, I don't know, do you call that I'm probably saying it wrong, Comite? That's probably wrong. You would think I would know all of these. I don't know everything about the geographic landscape. Nevertheless, the important thing is to show you, regardless of how it's pronounced, look at this. This river near Comite, or however you say it, Jor Road, it's never easy, is it? Going into major flood stage, that's the bottom line. So this is today, right about now as I'm doing the video, and then the river's going to have this tremendous spike up through action, minor, moderate to major flood stage, only about 3 feet below the record, which I think was set in 2016. So this is important information, and you can read about this by just clicking on that particular dot, that was right there. So you can zoom in on this, which is really nice, and it even works on tablets. You just pinch zoom, and you get all these river gauges, and you can mouse over them. And you look at the Amite River, that's forecast to almost go to major. Skip on down here to the Mississippi River Reserve, Louisiana, still below the record by about a foot. Look at New Orleans, though. You mouse over New Orleans, it's forecast to go to moderate flood stage at 19 feet. This is all very changeable as well. So I encourage you, if you want to know about the rivers in the area, go to, again, weather.gov, select Louisiana if that's what you're interested in, and just mouse over, especially these round circles. All of these have great information, but these have the gauge information. The red is in moderate flood stage already. Look at Morgan City down here, the Atchafalaya River. I was down there last night. We have one of our cameras in Morgan City and a weather station up along the flood wall. And to see all the ground down there on the river side of the flood wall, all underwater, is quite remarkable. So this is very helpful, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. All right, very important. All right, so real quick, want to advertise this because it's how I help to fund what I do, but it's also a great way to interact with you guys, and our patrons will testify to that this is really taking over as a great way to interact with me, but for me to also post pertinent information to you in the way that free social media would do, but it directly benefits those who are directly supporting our work and my work specifically, and it's Patreon. You go to patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. You see that right here. And check that out. The $10 monthly pledge is all it takes, and you have access to all the stuff on Patreon, plus you become a monthly subscriber to our HurricaneTrack Insider site, which is where our cameras are posted, the weather stations, the interactive chat, and it's a service that I provide. It's part of my overall business model, and it's really working out very well. We do have our app. It's called Hurricane Impact on the App Store and Google Play. Just search Hurricane Impact. The iOS version has been a little squirrely last couple of days, but it seems to work today just fine. The cameras and the weather station are in the app as well, Hurricane Impact on the App Store and Google Play. Just search for that. But they're really the best overall way to take advantage of what we're doing and really tap into it. I wish I could make everything available for free, but I can't. You don't work for free, neither can I, especially when something like this field mission will end up costing over $1,500 just to execute everything. Patreon, a fantastic crowdfunding method that you get something in return, and our current patrons will tell you, they are really seeing the benefits here. And it works both ways. It helps me, and I try to help them. All right, enough of, I hate having to talk about money, but if I don't, who is? Until somebody sends on PayPal $500,000 that covers the next 5 years, and that's true. $100,000 a year would be incredible, and we could do this for 5 years running and never have to ask for money again for 5 years. That notwithstanding, I do have to talk about it from time to time because it's my job to raise the funds. I will be out and about. The vehicle cam will be back up and running in a couple of hours, And we have a couple more live cameras to set up to bring a total to 6. And one more weather station. So we still have some work to do. So all of our patrons, look for that. It's coming. And I will be talking to you through the live stream this afternoon into the evening, and probably do another video discussion later tonight. All right, that is it from me. I am Mark Sudduth. Thanks as always for tuning in from your device of choice, whatever it may be. And I will talk to you again late tonight.